My name is Michael.
Beth.
Gary. Jim.
In the United States, we have a very long, intricate system by which laws are created. This process includes a multitude of steps, changes, and approval by different bodies of people. This process is long and difficult, which helps ensure that only the best bills can be passed into law. In order to be passed into law, a bill must first be written, then passed through committees, passed in both House and Senate, and finally signed by the President. John Adams once said, "As good government is an empire of laws, how shall your laws be made? In a large society inhabiting an extensive country, it is impossible that the whole should assemble to make laws. The first necessary step, then, is to depute power from the many to a few of the most wise and good." Just like John Adams said, because the whole cannot vote, we elect representatives who are responsible for creating and passing laws for us. The first step in this process is the bill must have a sponsor. A sponsor is usually a representative or a senator in Congress who sees an issue in society, whether it be societal, economic, or political, and says, that can be fixed by a law. So they begin writing the bill. The first step is the long title. The long title is basically a statement that lays out what the subject of the bill is and what will be included in the bill. The first section of the bill is the legislative intent. The legislative intent is a series of statements that lay out exactly what the issue is and how the bill will fix it if it is passed into law. Next is definitions. Definitions defines all of the key terms in the bill in the context of the bill. Next is guidelines. The guidelines is exactly what will be put in the statutes if the bill is passed. So if you were to go and look in the statutes of the United States, you would find the guidelines of every bill that has been passed into law in the past. Next is appropriations, enforcement, and penalties. These three sections are not always necessary, but when they are, they must be included. The first is appropriations, and that basically just explains how this bill will be funded if it is passed into law. Next is enforcement. This shows how we will ensure that this bill will be carried out if it is passed into law. And last is penalties. This explains the consequences if this law is broken once it is passed. Next is the Nullification Clause. The Nullification Clause is a simple statement that remains the same no matter what the bill is. It simply says, all laws and any portions thereof in conflict with these provisions are hereby null and void. This basically means that any laws that currently exist that conflict with this bill will be voided if this bill is passed into law. Lastly is effective date. This is just like it sounds. It says what the date this bill will go into effect if it is passed into law, and the only stipulation is that it must be at least 90 days after the bill is passed. After the bill is written, it must move through the legislative process in Congress. The entire details of the legislative process can be found on either the House of Representatives or the Senate official websites. First is committees. In committees, the bill is amended so that it becomes the best that it can be, and it is ranked. Just like golf, the lowest ranking bills are actually the best, and they're the ones that move forward onto the House and the Senate. After committees, the bill moves to the House, where it is debated and discussed between the representatives. More amendments can be submitted if they're necessary, and finally, there's voting. If the bill passes by a simple majority, or 51%, the bill will move forward to the Senate. In the Senate, the same process takes place. There's more discussion and debate, more amendments, and voting one more time. If the bill passes by a simple majority again, it will move to the President's desk. If the bill makes it all the way through committees, House, and Senate, as I said, it moves to the President's desk to be signed. Once the bill is at the President's desk, there are three options. The first of these is that the President is able to sign it, which will make it become a law. Next, the President could veto it. If the President chooses to veto the bill, it can be overridden by Congress with a supermajority of 67%. The last option is the President can take no action. He can leave the bill on his desk and do nothing to it. But after 10 days of no action, a bill will become law by default. scrutiny each bill endures during its journey from committees to the President's desk ensures it is essential and of the best quality. Most bills don't even make it out of committees. According to the GovTrack's website, which keeps a record of Congress's statistics, only about 3% of bills were actually enacted as laws between 2017 and 2019 during the 115th Congress. This system has been foundational to our government system for centuries, and we can hope that this process will remain reliable and continue to work for centuries more.